Well, I'm working on this 66 Chevelle here. This Chevelle has a brand new full candy paint job, all House of Color materials. We laid down a silver sealer. We did 3 coats of a silver Orion base coat. We laid down 5 coats of candy. We did an inner coat carrier with a gold Medjugorje flake on top of that. Then we did 3-4 coats of the high solids clear, cut that, then did their House of Color flow clear on top of that. So unbelievably nice paint job right here. When the customer got his wheels and tires, they were too large to fit in this wheelhouse. So it's made me go in here and have to do a little bit of modification after we've done this paint job. Now, normally if you did a cut like this, I've had to actually cut this front of this fender and move this forward. Well, I've made this cut below this belt line just in case what I'm fixing to try doesn't work. I may have to repaint and try to recreate this candy paint job right here, and hopefully I can keep it tamed down to this area. If not, I may have to go all the way back in here and repaint this whole panel right here. So that is really tricky to do with candy paint. On a base coat, clear coat car, you would fade this off into the next door and fade your metallic out, and that works real well. Well, on a candy job, that's hard. That's very hard to do. I found it's easier to panel paint on a candy job because I can mask this fender off right here, then recreate what I did on my candy. Then I will lay down a coat of candy, peel this back, see if it matches. Sometimes you have to peel this back, pull this out in the sun, look at it outside. If it looks too light, pull it back inside, then redo it. If you get this too darker than the rest of the car, there's no going back. You're going to have to relighten it with a base coat. So it's tricky. It can be done. I've done it before. If you go back and look at some of my previous blogs, or it may have been when Trucks TV come up here, we had the Cutlass here that was blue candy, and it got hit in the fender, and I was able to rematch that candy exactly perfect that way. But the guys down at Eastwood, I want to give a shout out to Nick Kapansky. He sent me this cold shield. So this is what I'm going to attempt to do. I'm going to take this cold shield. We're going to test this out on this, $10,000-$15,000 paint job. If this little can of cold shield saves me from having to redo all that, you're talking about saving me lots and lots of times, because I would probably spend anywhere from maybe 20, 30, 40 hours trying to reproduce this if it goes well the first time. So Nick sent me this cold shield. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put this cold shield down both sides of this. Then I'm going to get my welder and come in here, and I'll probably have me a little spray bottle of water, and I'm going to get that right where I want it. I'm going to tack it, bam, and then I'm going to come down here and get it cool again and tack it. I'm going to try to keep from damaging this paint right there on the edge of that paint. If I can keep that down, that heat down, and get that tack welded, then I'm going to come back in behind there and probably put me some panel bond adhesive made by 3M or either SIM. I think I got SIM. That stuff works excellently. So I'll be able to do my welds down through there. I'll be able to turn this back in there. Then I've got a piece of chrome trim that will go right back down through there. And if I can keep this all below that 1/2 inch right there, I will not have to repaint this fender, and that will make this can of cold shield worth its weight right here. So let me get to doing this, and I'll kind of show you how it goes along, and we'll see what happens. This may work, this may not work. I may end up having to paint this whole fender as it is, but I'm going to give these guys at Eastwood a shot and see if this cold shield will make this happen. Okay, when you're doing a project like this, you need to take every precaution you can to make it work as well as possible. Even though this product may work really, really well, I'm going to do everything in my power to set this thing up to work perfectly. So, in doing so, I know that when this metal being exposed, I've got this completely clean, and the metal's real shiny right down through here, right where I'm going to weld. I've kept my paint down to a minimum of where it's peeled back. Then I've taken which I use this stuff called Pickle X, but you can use a rust mortar, any kind of rust stopper, and just wipe down that metal. And what that's going to do for you is going to remove any oxidation that's in that metal. Once that metal's in the atmosphere, like the humidity that's in the air today, this metal's oxidizing right now as we speak. I can put this on here and stop that oxidation. That way when my welder hits it, it's not going to burn that oxidation out first. It's an instant weld. Get on it, get off, cool it down with my water. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here right where my weld is, And I'm going to put some of this fine line tape on there right on top of my welded area to protect it from any of this cold shield that I get on it. So I'll put this piece of tape down through there, and I'm going to put my cold shield on both front and on the back, and then I'll take and pull this tape off, and I'll have that fresh, clean metal right there. Get it in place, get my welder set up perfectly. One tack, get my water, cool it off. I don't want to blister this paint that's just right there. And I've got to keep that paint blister to a minimum because I've only got a ½ inch to go here to try to save this paint job. So I'm going to set this thing up best I can. Alright, now I'm going to get this tape on there, and then I'm going to put my cold shield on. Now, I've got my tape right on my clean welded area where I'm going to weld at. And then I put it's about a ½ inch thick, and I've spread this out with my spreader. And it doesn't need to be much further than that unless I'm going to put a lot of heat, but I know I'm not going to put that much heat in it. I'm going to be able to coat it with that water before it gets there. What I'm trying to do is protect that very, very, very edge of paint right there so that it doesn't blister up, so that I can come back in here and I can spray some paint back on that, and my piece of trim is going to cover it. So that tape, put that tape right down that tape line, allows me to clean that right off right there just perfectly. And then I've got about a ½ inch of this stuff right on the edge of that paint line. So now I'm ready to pull this tape off, make sure I got it in place, and I'm going to use water because I'm going to make this work. So you do everything you can do to try to help the product you're using work to the best of its ability. So let me pull my tape line off. Oh, and that's beautiful. Now I've got my exposed metal just right there without any of this stuff on it. Maybe come back here and wipe off a little bit more of it. And now I'm ready to get my welder out. I'm going to have it set up perfectly. I'm going to test it out on a test panel first to make sure that when I hit it, it welds instantly. And I'm going to instant weld, cool it off. Instant weld, cool it off. Alright, here we go. Well, it's a moment of the truth on my cold shield, so let's wipe this off. I've got my welder over here. I come down through here and I tack weld it real lightly as best I could. I turned my fan off. I had a fan blowing behind me, but turned it off so it didn't blow the shielding gas off of my welder. And then let's wipe this off, or you can take a scraper, get my squeegee, just squeegee it off. I guess you could reuse that if you wanted to, but I'm not. Because I actually left that on there and did my grinding while that was on there, because when you grind it, you know, you're going to be a little heat as well. So I kind of left that on there, and then I started grinding it around, so I know I've got a little grinding slag in that. So I'm going to throw that away so I don't scratch my paint, because this is a completely finished paint job. This paint job here has just got, it's been sanded with 1000 grit. So, see if I can find my pre-cleaner. If you see, when this thing is buffed, you kind of see how, I mean, that is a full slick candy paint job, so it makes me nervous to be sitting here cutting, grinding, and welding on it. But that being said, take my cold shield off, and this is the first time I've used this stuff, so put it to the test today. And see what I do. Perfect. Let me give you a little closer look at this. I've got it spot welded about every ½ inch down through there, and it didn't, and my paint line right down through there is just perfect. It didn't blister, lift in any, I don't know if you can see that, but it didn't lift at all. So that's going to allow me to do a little bit of paint work just right to that edge. Then I'll be able to put my chrome trim on, which is going to come a little bit further right down through there, and that will do it. So I want to give a big shout out to Nick at Eastwood Products for sending me out this cold shield. What a great idea this was for saving this paint job. Without this stuff, I had planned on cutting and welding and having to do body work right in here, and if that didn't work, I'd probably do the whole fender. So this really saved the day. I'm really sold on this product, because you can see I welded right there, and the paint is not blistered within a millimeter of it. That is just phenomenal. Thanks, Nick.